the triangle training method. Now, the old school triangle training would be 12 weeks of training. You can see at the left-hand side of the triangle the 12 different weeks broken into different segments of 3 weeks each. And at the beginning of the year, which would be the bottom of the triangle, coaches would have their athletes do all of their work at 70%, and you see on the right hand side it's going to be slow paced intervals with very short recoveries. And during the next segment, coaches would ask the athletes to run at 80%, and these would be medium pace intervals with short recoveries as well. Then in the next 3 week segment, they'd start getting up to 90% of their maximum speed, and these are going to be faster intervals but with a little bit longer rest. And then at the end of the year, with 3 weeks remaining before the championship meet, the coaches would ask the athletes to go all out at 100%. But the problem with that is you can't learn speed in just 3 weeks. You can teach athletes to become faster through mechanics and training their bodies, but it can't be done in 3 weeks. You can't. It's difficult to teach anything in life and have someone master it within 3 weeks. So if you're going to have someone run at full speed and want them to master doing that, it's something you have to start early on. So the old school training triangle really doesn't work. You can't start off just doing all slow stuff and get faster as the year goes on. There's a time and a place for that, but when you're talking about the triangle training method, what we want to understand is that there's two different triangles. There's not one triangle, there's two triangles that are working at the same time. The first one is the speed triangle. The second one is the tempo triangle. With the tempo triangle, if you look at the bottom, that's the beginning of the year. And if you look at the top of the triangle, that's the end of the year. And so you're going to start with your extensive tempo, doing your tempo running at 70%, then your intensive tempo in the next segment of your season, moving to 80%, then moving into your Special Endurance 1 and your Special Endurance 2, which are going to be 90% and higher. And I know that looks a lot like the old school training triangle, but you also have to work the speed triangle at the same time. And the speed triangle is when you start using at the beginning of the season, which is the bottom of the triangle, is working on acceleration, is you start using acceleration mechanics and acceleration workouts at the very beginning of the season. Athletes are not going to hurt themselves doing block 10s and doing block prerequisites for 10 meters. They're not going to pull a hamstring doing that. So they can go all out 100% on the first day of practice, working on acceleration, and as the season gets longer, their maximum speed is going to get longer within the practice as well. So they're going to go from doing block 10s to 20s to 30s to 40s to 50s to 60s and so forth, and get longer and longer. And they're going to go from just doing acceleration to acceleration and max velocity to acceleration, max velocity, and speed endurance. So how do you train the speed triangle and the tempo triangle at the same time? Well, you need to put them together. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the beginning of the season, the bottom of this page, you can see that at the beginning of the year, you want to utilize acceleration and extensive tempo workouts. So two different types of workouts at the beginning of the year that you want to utilize: acceleration, extensive tempo. Then you want to move on to the next part of your season, which is going to be acceleration, max velocity, and intensive tempo workouts. Then during the next part of the year, you're going to utilize acceleration, max velocity, and speed endurance workouts. Then at the end of the year, you're really just going to start focusing on your Special Endurance 1 and Special Endurance 2 workouts. These are going to be the main focus.